So the other day, I decided to read some bad reviews for Project Zomboid. And let me tell you, it was quite the enlightening experience to say the least. So today, I'd like to, spread that enlightenment to all of you guys. And let's start by reading the most helpful negative review for Project Zomboid. This guy here has 1,400 hours in the game, and let's see what he has to say. 1,300 hours, and I finally feel ready to leave an honest review. I squeezed dozens of hours of play out of vanilla Build 41 over the first few months when I got this just under 2 years ago. Enamored with the profundity of the systems and the direct line nail-biting combat, a solo zombie sandbox of such scope and deliberate pacing was incredibly appealing to someone like me. And after I made it to 3 or 4 months a few times, I finally dove into mods and discovered an ever-changing, evolving, beautiful world of possibility and destruction. Between this and the sandbox settings, I put in my first 1,300 hours. So far, I agree, it sounds like a pretty typical experience for Project Zomboid 2 years ago. That 65, that's how much I've played since Build 42 dropped, a year ago. The game has never been particularly kind to the player or allowed many points or skills in vanilla gameplay. The grind is synonymous with the gameplay loop, and I'm no stranger to it. I also loved Destiny 2 before it shit the bed years ago, and regularly play Warframe on my PS5 to this day. And I think we all know what kind of gamer this guy is, huh? However, the grind is rewarding due to leading to progress and growth. In Build 42, the insane nerfs to literally every single playstyle you can imagine have been nipped both in the bud. Randomized zombie senses make the new stealth system a nightmare. The new items have diluted the drop tables. However, the drop rates have been lowered for several items. The traits that were meta in the previous build were heavily nerfed or flat out destroyed. However, none of that feeds into the new loop we were introduced to in a way that doesn't immediately put you in more danger as you try to, say, find tools to get into blacksmithing or harvest wood to get into carving. The new aiming system is worse, even with mods. The new sound system makes using a gun pull zombies at a staggered rate. That means an infinitely longer and more drawn-out fight. But you can now generate muscular fatigue faster and while doing any action, so you're no longer equipped for those long fights. All melee weapons got their conditions split as well as lowered, and all melee combat has been decidedly nerfed in every form. The unstable branch regularly updates in ways that break saves and mods, and there's little to no transparency on when or how these updates changes are going to occur. I heavily feel that last part. Now you would think you could just go back to Build 41 and enjoy your time, but many mods instrumental to that build have been updated to Build 42 and don't have any true legacies. Not only that, but the development for Build 41 has stagnated, so the sense of renewal in the loop of running a good save for 40 or so hours and then trying out new and exciting mods have also stagnated. The focus is on Build 42. And you can use sandbox settings to change a number of these issues, but that isn't really what this review is for, is it? This review is for you, reader, someone who hasn't put a single cent or moment into playing this game, to understand what you're purchasing. Don't let my 1,000 hours fool you. What you're purchasing is a snail's pace of production, hostile gameplay architecture, consistent community brownouts, and avoidance on the part of the devs, and the company of glitchy gameplay whether alone or with friends. It really hit me during my hours on Build 42 that ultimately the promised NPCs and missions or other gameplay tweaks aren't here and I didn't have any company. I did all of my playing on single player, so the thing I enjoyed was the canvas and brushes that these developers gave us, and all the fascinating colors and shades this community made. But with the new build and with the features added, I'm sure we will not be going back anytime soon. They've taken away my palette and half of my tools, cracked my easel in half, handed me several unfamiliar tools that takes ages to put even a speckle onto the canvas, or are flat out impossible to use as they currently are, and simply told me to deal with it. After a 12-year early access development cycle, it isn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It won't be worth it. Don't waste your time. Now, for the most part, I wholeheartedly agree with this dude. Wholeheartedly. But at the same time, I feel like he kind of is misunderstanding the type of gameplay that this game is meant to have, like where he's talking about having long fights or getting muscle fatigue during a long fight or fighting a bunch of zombies at once. I mean, technically you're not supposed to be able to do that in this game, because it's more like, what would you do in real life? Would you actually take on 1,000 zombies at once? Probably not. And you probably would get tired after a while. So as far as that part goes, I disagree, but overall, this dude has it down. Like, the updates ruining your gameplay experience, crashing or corrupting your world with every update, it gives you like no reason to even play, because if you try, you'll get deep into a run and all of a sudden you'll have an update and you can't play it anymore. Not to mention the fact that multiplayer has finally just came out recently after over a year of Build 42, and you still can't even use mods. That's one little thing I have to say about it. Moving right along. Alright, this one is short and sweet. It says, "It started pretty amusing, but then over a decade went by and the game is still the same shit as always. The UI has never seen any decent improvement. There are bugs galore. They sold enough to hire actual pros to work on this. There's no excuses. They just don't care. A lot of people love this game, and I used to as well, but currently there are other small studios making better games who will probably make good use of some of the player support. More than 10 years under development, still in early access, and it still feels like it's in alpha stages." This I pretty much agree with, except for the fact that they don't care. I do think the devs care. Maybe they're losing interest based on how slow it's going, but at the same time, in their recent blog posts, they have talked about how they're kind of shifting personnel around and like getting a new game plan going for the development of this game. So I don't really think that they're like giving up or getting bored of it, but I do agree that like holy crap, like after all this time, like it still feels this way, and like every time there's a major update, we have to go through this phase of like a couple years where the game is just unplayable unless you go back to a previous build, and like the other guy said before, you can't even use mods if you do that, and I guess you technically can't even use mods in the current update. So yeah, here's a good one. Project Zomboid is a perfect name. This isn't a game, but a perpetual project to be worked on forever in early access. Yeah, that is how it feels. I don't know if this game will ever fully release. This one is kind of a long one, but I think it's actually kind of funny, so here we go. Things you could do instead of beta testing this promising experimental modding framework. Watch someone play it instead. The endless tedium of skill grinding, inventory busy work, and Moodle micromanagements is abstracted away thanks to the magic of ellipse and narration. There is a profuse amount of Zomboid-focused content on YouTube, yours truly, including clickbaity top X videos, conventional Let's Plays to fully narrated movies. It's entirely up to your taste. Personally, I like Volrund, Alex Phillips, and Genuine Toad, but there are a dozen others. Me. Read a book instead of Project Zomboid. Try World War Z, M. Brooks, Malleable, R. Merle, or something related to your hobbies. Don't watch your character spend several in-game afternoons to gain XP modifiers before dismantling wristwatches and cathodic TVs to be proficient enough to wire up a generator, realism. Pick up a book like Practical Electronics for Inventors, S. Monk, and actually do it yourself in the realistic life. Faithfully watching Life and Living despite the early day emergency might give you the required trade school level of proficiency in woodworking to build a rain collector, realism, but you could have way better use of your time in Meat Space. If anything, PZ is the game that will make you reconsider the time you spend staring for hours at a virtual character doing insane shit like taking off all the fences from a garden to gain crumbles of XP, or hiking the boonies for days just to find a saw, a rubber hose, or box of nails. Real game Build 41 experience. Get fit. Start slow, push yourself, but don't go overboard. Do everything your survivor can do, and pull-ups or variations if you can. Listen to your body, work out regularly, and you'll be in good shape before your character reaches the level of fitness and endurance needed to perform strenuous activities such as running errands by foot or bashing a whopping total of 6 Zombo. Write a snide review full of spelling mistakes about an unfinished game you played for hundreds of hours instead of moving on and getting your shit together. It's now a decade-old, bug-ridden beta product with befuddling long release cycles that make you reconsider the objective merits of Scrum and Agile-like mythology. The recent scope creep is ever growing and even more infuriating when imagining that the actual great additions from Build 42, lighting system, basements, items adding to the world building, map expansion, etc., could have been introduced into the stable branch or released on their own first, but got bundled with a heap of nerfs and other undercooked systems aiming to transform a zombie survival simulator in 90s Kentucky into a modded Minecraft or that Doomsday movie from 2008, which would be great if everything else introduced before was fixed and polished first. I would be lying if I said I didn't love the first dozen of hours I played in Muldrow mostly. The game is wide as a lake, deep as a puddle. I've heard that before about No Man's Sky. But I sure as hell enjoyed getting across this lake during this time. There is a ton of issues with PZ, a lot more than what I hinted at, but there is still nothing quite like it. Yet I personally got my money worth, but I still can't recommend it in its current state. For both the current and unstable branch, there are some genuinely memorable moments that can emerge out of an overly tedious experience, but is it worth it? I could say the same thing for Caves of Chud, but there's already enough salt in this review to cure a whole deer. I'll suggest to those still willing to try to wait for a sale and stick with the stable Build 41, then mod it generously. There is a ton of creative and high-quality content on the workshop, greatly improving the base game. Less menu diving, common sense actions, better inventory management, etc., or providing some sorely needed narrative content, finding a cure, restoring the radio system, various scenarios, etc. It is assuming the mods you want still support Build 41, because the scene seems divided between those focused on the current unstable build and those who continue to support the older one, if they didn't straight up give up on maintaining their mods. Yeah, this is a great review. I don't disagree with too much. He's basically telling us all to touch grass, but like, he's got a few points. This is how you died, not this is how you lived. Despite the game being a cool sandbox, it fails fantastically to capture what drives one to live through an apocalypse: other people. Single player lacks any kind of NPCs, leaving you to be the only person to ever exist. And there isn't even any interesting environmental storytelling. The best you stumble upon is some quirky scene. Public multiplayer is broken. It cannot spawn enough zombies to satisfy each player, so get ready for deserted everything on a server with 10 plus players, since all the Zeds are at some other player's location. Guess the only way to play this is with friends, which isn't my option at the moment. And overall, the game is a chore fest for the sake of getting off to doing boring tasks. It got to being such a great simulation, it had forgotten it was also a game. Nice short and sweet one there. One thing though, a lot of these people are talking about NPCs and stuff, but it would be amazing to have them, obviously. But for me, it's okay without them right now. But for me personally, it's not as big of a deal as some of these other people seem to make it out to be. But yeah, good review. Alright, and I think the final negative review I'll read here is this last one, because this will be a good segue into what I'm going to do next. This guy says, the entire fanbase is on copium. This game has been in early access for years and counting with barely any updates. Don't waste your time. And yeah, that copium, we're going to read some positive reviews now, and we'll just see how they compare and what they talk about. Alright, so the most helpful positive review here, this guy has 25 hours, and he says, woke up at 4 a.m., grabbed my baseball bat, and headed to the nearest fire station. Beat some firefighters to take their clothes and took a handgun from one of the lockers, firing at anything that moved on my way back home. Then I got to play Project Zomboid, 10 out of 10. Launch the game, play with random character. Why is there no sound in my game? Check audio settings, everything looks clear. I think it's bug. Continue playing for 15 minutes. See info panel and realize that my character is actually deaf. 10 out of 10, what a great zombie survival game. I cooked a hammer in a microwave and started a wildfire. In a completely serious take on this game, however, I want to say it's something that has been equally daunting and fun to delve into. Compared to other crafting survival games, it feels both fleshed out and grounded with the types of crafts you can get into. Something like setting up a farm in this game doesn't feel like an auxiliary boost to your existence in the world. It makes it feel like you could hope for a sustained survival, or at least leave something behind for other characters in a playthrough. The fact that it is using an in-house engine is another amazing thing to me, and what's presented with this game had sparked creative ideas for what else could be done. Overall, I just wanted to check these out because I think it's kind of interesting to see what other people think about it, and there's a lot of good points, a lot of bad points, and I feel like with the negative reviews, I am more so leaning on their side. I agree with them a lot more, and as you can see, a lot of the positive reviews, they're just little memes or like just basically saying good game. There are some that say like that are real reviews. I feel like this game has seen better days, and in my opinion, I'll do a little vocal review right now. So, like that first guy was saying, since Build 42 has come out, I personally have been playing a lot less of this game. And maybe you can see that based on my videos that I've been posting. There's not too many Project Zomboid stuff coming out from me. And it's just because, like, this game, like, it strives on mods. Like, the mods are what make this game. And one of the things that was inspiring me to keep going with this game is that I was planning on making my own maps and stuff, and, like, making another Mega Map 3, you guys know. So, like, and now, I can't do that. I have to wait years before I can probably do that, because the mods aren't supported in this new update as much as they should be, and there's like hardly any map mods that I can make a mega map out of. And not only that, it's just not fun to play with all these bugs and no mod support, not to mention the fact you can't even use mods in multiplayer. There's a lot more to it. I mean, I feel like the overall gameplay changes they've made in the game, they're okay, but like maybe they just take some getting used to. But at the same time, like, it's just becoming more and more of a chore. Like, you can't, I don't know. It's just like those people have been saying, it's getting too realistic. Maybe they just need to, instead of doing these huge updates like every few years, maybe they could do what this previous review was talking about earlier, where, you know, the basements and like the lighting and stuff, which they probably had finished before most of the other stuff in this update. Like, if they were to just release those nice features before they were done with all these other things, in my opinion, still the best zombie survival game out there. As far as what you would want as like a Walking Dead fan, this is the game to do it. And it just is disappointing because I know it could be better, and I know maybe it will be, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Am I just being stupid, or like, do you guys agree? What do you think? Does Project Zomboid deserve a positive review or a negative review? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you all later. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.